Once upon a time, in a quiet woodland beneath the roots of a tall fir tree, lived a spirited young rabbit named Benjamin Bunny. With curious eyes and a taste for adventure, Benjamin often found himself in places he didn't quite belong. One warm morning, Benjamin decided to visit his cousin Peter Rabbit. Now, Peter, as you may know, had recently had a terrifying run-in with Mr. McGregor, the grumpy gardener whose plot Peter had snuck into. In his frantic escape, Peter had lost his little blue jacket and brown shoes. When Benjamin found Peter that morning, he was sitting glumly outside his home. "What's the matter?" Benjamin asked. Peter sighed. "I lost my clothes in Mr. McGregor's garden. Mama says it's too dangerous to go back." Benjamin's eyes lit up. "Then let's go get them, together." Peter's ears drooped. "But the cat, the rake, the man." But Benjamin was already hopping toward the path, full of confidence. And despite his fears, Peter followed. They squeezed under the garden gate and crept into Mr. McGregor's garden. The air was thick with the smell of parsley and cabbages, and everything looked even bigger than Peter remembered. But Benjamin led the way, and soon they spotted Peter's jacket and shoes on the arms of a scarecrow, standing stiffly among the rows of vegetables. Quickly, Peter slipped into his clothes, buttoning the jacket and tying the shoes with shaking paws. But just as they turned to leave, they heard a low meow. A large tabby cat crept from behind a row of beans, her eyes narrow and focused. She crouched low, watching them. The rabbits froze. "Hide!" whispered Benjamin. They dove under a large basket leaning nearby, and just in time, the cat padded over and curled up right on top of it. Now, they were trapped. Inside the basket, it was dark and hot. They waited, and waited, and waited some more. Hours passed, and the cat did not move. The two cousins began to doze off in the heat. Meanwhile, back at home, old Mr. Bunny, Benjamin's father, had noticed his son was missing. When Benjamin didn't return for midday lettuce, Mr. Bunny grew suspicious. He knew his son's adventurous spirit all too well. With a huff, he grabbed his walking stick and set off toward Mr. McGregor's garden. By the time Mr. Bunny arrived, the afternoon sun had begun to lower. He sniffed the air and followed his nose to the basket. There sat the cat, sleeping peacefully on top. With no hesitation, Mr. Bunny gave a loud stomp and brandished his stick. The cat sprang up, startled, and dashed off into the rhubarb patch. Mr. Bunny tipped the basket, and out tumbled Benjamin and Peter, blinking in the sudden light. "You two are lucky you weren't turned into stew," he scolded. "What were you thinking?" The boys didn't say a word. They were too tired and too ashamed. Mr. Bunny picked up Peter's now dusty clothes, tucked them under his arm, and led the boys out of the garden. They left the vegetables behind, the scarecrow still standing, the cat sulking somewhere in the shadows. Back at Peter's house, his mother gasped in relief when she saw him. She fussed over his shoes, hugged him tightly, and gave him a warm cup of chamomile tea. "I promise I'll never go back there again," Peter mumbled, sipping his tea with droopy eyes. Benjamin, meanwhile, received a long lecture from his father, followed by a week without any dandelion pudding or bedtime stories. Even so, a part of Mr. Bunny deep down admired the boy's bravery, though he'd never admit it out loud. As for the tabby cat, she returned to her usual sunspot later that evening, licking her paws and pretending none of it ever happened. But from that day on, she always kept one ear twitching when she napped near the basket. And so, the tale of Benjamin Bunny reminds us that while courage can lead to great adventure, a little caution and a lot of listening to your parents can go a long way.